Welcome everyone to today's session on what worked versus what's new, engaging faculty as lifelong learners. As a reminder, this session is scheduled to end at 2:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which includes a 5-minute Q&A. This app will close at the end of the session, and you will be able to access the lobby and other sessions in your internet browser. Now I am pleased to announce our wonderful guest speaker, Dr. Donna Roberts, Associate Dean of Faculty and Professor with the College of Arts and Science.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. So we only have a short time together today, so I just want to get started right away. But before I go ahead and share my PowerPoint, I just wanted to give some context to this. I've done a lot of thinking about faculty identity and how we develop our faculty identity, how we grow our careers and our faculty persona, how we develop our craft, really. And so done a lot of introspection with that. And I think there are some, for each of us, probably some defining moments that we have where we decided we were going to be a teacher, or we, moments where we had a real light bulb moment about how we wanted to be in the classroom, how we wanted to show up, and what we wanted to accomplish. So just going to share a couple quick insights that I came up with. I think that many of us came to higher education either because we had really good experiences before, or perhaps even really bad experiences. One way or the other kind of led us here to do something great in this discipline. And so I have two that I'd like to share, and one is very early on. It's the first day of first grade, and that's where I fell in love with school. The very first day of first grade. I remember the moment there when I was in that new classroom. And I'd gone to kindergarten, but first grade was a much bigger deal. First grade was the big leagues. And so I remember being in that classroom and just being in awe that of everything around me, and really loving everything about it, the atmosphere, the schedule, the activities, and I remember looking around at other classmates and thinking, we get to be here. And so a lot of what we did there that I think was a struggle for other students sometimes, like the sitting still or the regimented activities, it just really resonated with me. And so that was, and then when the teacher at that point said, by the end of this year, I'm going to teach you how to read on your own. I mean, I was in. It was just a wonderful moment for me. So I remember going home and to grandma and just telling her what a great day I had. And I remember asking the question, I knew grandma and grandpa didn't go to school anymore. So how long do I get to do this? How long do I get to go to school? And she said, well, it's a long, long time. You'll have a lot of years to do that. And I said, yeah, but when will I stop? And she said, well, after, and she explained high school. She said, after high school, you get to stop. And I said, I don't ever want to stop. And she said, well, maybe you could be a teacher. And that was the moment. And from that moment on, I went and got the dog and brought him into the playroom and sat him down and started teaching. And I think that's the way I learned to study is I would come home and teach to the dog. The other, fast forward to higher education, fast forward to my undergraduate years, and my most memorable lecture was exactly that, a lecture. So it was quite a while ago, but I remember everything about it too. And the interesting thing here, it was an upper level psychology class, and the instructor lectured for 1.5 hours straight, all pure lecture, no PowerPoint, no videos, no visual anything, no Q&A, just a lecture. And it was fascinating. It was just a captivating talk, and it really ignited a passion for human behavior. And at that moment, I still wanted to be a teacher back from those younger days, but at that moment, I also I wanted to bring that to my classroom. I wanted to deliver lectures like that. So I worked for a lot of years with that kind of goal in mind. And I know what you're probably thinking now. There is no way we would get away with something like that anymore. It's not what motivates our students of today. And that method alone would not engage any passion in them. Even using modern technology or PowerPoint, you can't lecture for 1.5 hours and expect students to be engaged. So I had to adapt and change my idea about my faculty identity and what I wanted to accomplish in the classroom. So think about for a moment what your own faculty identities are and how it's evolved over time and what you aspire to bring to the classroom. And I'm going to go ahead now and share a PowerPoint and just go over some quick comments about the faculty identity and how we evolve that. Okay, so again, taking a look at this idea of what's worked before and what's new. So that idea of what I had in mind before, not going to work today. But what is new in terms of engaging students and in terms of our own professional development? Teaching has always been something that you've had to be adaptable, but particularly today with the way everything's changing, I think there's a lot more we need to learn and grow. You might know who this is. This is Malcolm Knowles. It's kind of a father of higher education in terms of adult learning. And back in 1973, he was very prolific. But back in 1973, he came up with the first edition of that, The Adult Learner. And you see the subtitle, A Neglected Species. It was a big deal. And in that time, the idea that the adult, again, the lifelong learning was really starting to come into vogue then, and the idea of andragogy versus pedagogy. And so this book, this adult learner, again, the first edition in 1973, and it just came out in the 10th edition. Malcolm Knowles passed away in 97, but his colleagues have continued to publish this, and a brand new version came out in 2025, just version edition 10. So very interesting concepts that have pulled us along. And one of the key concepts that he reiterated over and over again is about, again, adult learners. And this was when it was coming to the idea that we would be lifelong learners. And he emphasized that adult learners were different. They really wanted the learning experience to be tailored to their needs and their own life and the context in which they find themselves as adults. And they wanted to have things that matter. They wanted to learn the things that matter, and they wanted to it built around real world goals. And these are things that really resonate with me and always did since I've been with Embry-Riddle, because especially when I first started with Embry-Riddle over 20 years ago, we were primarily, we still have obviously a large working adult student body, but it was almost exclusively the working adult. So these concepts were meaningful, and I had to sort of let go of another piece of my kind of faculty identity at that point, and that was overcoming the idea of learning for learning's sake. That was something that I had kind of had the mentality of just the idea that like, why do you climb Mount Everest, Bill? Because it's there. That anyone would want to learn something just because it's there to learn. But this idea that adult learners were focused on this really means to an end, and that they it had to have real world context and meaning to them. And I think now, interestingly enough, it's not just something that we see in the adult learner, but even traditional learners now. It's a generational thing where we notice that they really are focused on wanting something to be meaningful in their lives and have a purpose and see the end game for the kind of things they're learning in the assignments that we give them. So the lifelong learner mindset also has to translate to us as faculty. I gave examples of how I evolved my faculty identity away from just my preferences to evolving with the idea of how learning has changed and how students have changed and what's important to students. So it's really non-negotiable these days. It's to stay relevant and effective and impactful. We have to, as faculty members, have a mindset of the lifelong learner. It used to be that all we had to do is keep up with the innovations in our discipline. As long as we did that, we were the sage on the stage, and we would, um, you know, hand that over to students, and we would be able to give them that kind of experience. And it's not that way anymore. It's not enough to deliver the lecture and have the responsibility left with them to pursue it. It's something that we have to make meaningful now, and we have to keep up ourselves, especially with the pace of technology. So what has worked in the past in terms of faculty training? Some really important things that are still very relevant. The idea of traditional workshops and seminars, they're proven formats. There's peer interaction, there's real-time question and answer, there's real skill building. Communities of practice have also worked well in the past, peer groups, dialogue, mentorship, all of those kinds of things that work together. And of course, recognition and incentives. Faculty need that too, different kinds of certifications and awards or financial incentive. We have to have something also, just like with our students, that we prioritize our lifelong learning amid busy schedules. So what's new in faculty training? Things like AI-driven personalized learning. Of course, AI is big these days. It's everywhere, and it's only evolving more and more. And part of why we need to keep up with that. But it also gives us the opportunity to have some really adaptive learning. These tools are so powerful, and we're going to see them more and more. They give us a lot of efficiency. They give us a lot of targeted development. Up in the top corner there, you see the kind of the old school working through a computer program or a learning experience. It's not like that anymore. We have some really skilled skill assessment algorithms that help identify those areas where we can really stylize the learning for us. Immersive technology, virtual reality, augmented reality, all of this is just evolving so fast these days. And I think we're going to see incredible opportunities for faculty development where we can incorporate these tools into how we want to, into our own pedagogy, into our own andragogy, so we can have these experiences of teaching and learning ourselves using these technologies. Gamification, you hear that all the time. And micro-learning, we use it with our students. It's ways that are going to engage us as well in terms of how we, again, evolve our faculty identity. And again, what students are looking for as well, the on-demand, just-in-time training, so that it's the sound bites that we need, the pieces that we need to move forward, just like our students. So there's a contrast here, the old, the new, but I think they really segue well together. So we still want the community building, we still want the collaboration, but the scalability and the personalization and the ability to work together collaboratively with people we never would have had the opportunity to work with before because of technology, I think merges these two and makes this kind of learning more inclusive, so that we can again evolve as faculty. This conference and many conferences often use hybrid models, in-person elements, virtual components, a really integrated experience. COVID-19 brought us into a place where we really realized the extent to which we can have a global network, we can reach out, we can have real-time collaboration, we can have asynchronous, and we can really manage our own professional development. Still important, of course, that we have recognition, but now there's things like digital badging and all kinds of feedback that we're going to be able to integrate, especially using things like AI and using technology to reach out for performance, analytics on performance, algorithms that cater to the specific needs. And I think it's important too that just like our students, we want metrics that matter. We want to learn from these things. And we're in a data-driven society these days, and it's important that we use that in a very practical way that moves us forward. I'm going to go ahead and just really skip forward just a minute because we only have a couple minutes left. But I think the key here is blending the old and the new. There's intergenerational mentorship. So many times our students are going to know more about the technology or have exposure to some of the tools that we don't. And we have something obviously to give to them, and they have something to give back to us. So we're really co-creators of the learning experience for both of us, for the student and the faculty member these days. And so technology enhanced workshops, global communities of practice, things like those are really the future for us. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and see if we have any questions. Anyone want to share their personal journey?
I don't think they can talk, I don't think, Donna, but they can more than welcome to put any questions that they have in the chat. And if they would like me
Okay,
to ask them to unmute, I can do it from my side if they would like.
sure. It's been a very, very interesting evolution of faculty that I've seen just in my career. And so I am excited for the future. I have had to evolve and change, some of the ways that I approached learning, some things that worked for me, opening up to, being open to what students, what works for them, and the very different ways we can accommodate their learning. But it's an exciting time. We are moving past a lot of the things that were our comfort zones in the past. But I think it's going to bring a lot of tools forward.
Hey, I have a question from Herbert Hoffman. Hi, Donna. Which tools will ERAU field in the near future that are AI related?
Yeah, I think that we have a lot of focus on this right now. We have several different new positions that we have that are focused on AI and how to incorporate it. And I mean, it's in every conversation. So I think we'll be talking in general as Embry-Riddle about how we're going to use AI in our classrooms in the future, or how we are going to use generative AI, where it's appropriate, where it's not appropriate, how to really equip students to use it. Things like Chat GPT, when it's appropriate, when it's not, but way beyond that, I think we're going to find so many opportunities in simulations and things like that, particularly just in the past, 6 months, the image generation has just exploded in terms of AI. So things like that, I think we're really going to be able to incorporate some very incredible experience. If you think about the history of aviation, how simulation has progressed in terms of pilot training, I think we're going to see something similar. I think we're going to have the opportunity to use all kinds of simulations that will really enhance learning.
Um,
Thank you,
Herbert
Herbert.
is he's looking forward to it, which I think we all are. We're wanting to see where the new technologies go.
Absolutely.
We have about 2 more minutes left. Is there any other questions? All right, this one is from Sophia White. Speaking from the perspective of instructional designer, where from one term to the next we get to work with a different faculty developer. I appreciate the variety. There is always a fresh or seasoned perspective to learning as we approach each project.
I thank you, Sophia. I think that's the collaborative too, because I'm so appreciative when I work with the folks in IDD and the ideas that they give me, that they pull me out of, I mean, if you set me off in the corner with a textbook, I'd be happy enough, but that's not where our students are these days. Not all of them, certainly. And so it's important to try new things, and some of them they'll work and some of them will be less effective, but the team there always has these great innovative ideas to try in classes. And that feedback loop is so important, because I know that just recently I was considering taking a piece of technology out of a course that I was redeveloping, and instead all the feedback came forward that students and other faculty loved it. So hey, I'm not going to break what's not broken, so we're going to keep that piece in there. So that feedback loop that we talked about is ever important.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. I do have a question for you, Donna. You talked
Sure.
about augmented reality for training with faculty. Can you explain a little bit more about?
Sure. So virtual reality, which is the totally immersive experience, and then augmented reality that would be just partial pieces. I mean, I think it will give faculty in the future, and I don't think this is so far-fetched future, but the ability to test things out, to test out certain lesson plans, to test out certain videos or video instruction or demonstration instruction, or and to use those with a bot, with a some sort of interaction with AI. I think that kind of augmented reality will give us the opportunity. We can think of a lot of things that we can include in our classrooms with any kind of experiments in the sciences or anything, any kind of simulated experiments. But I think also that instructors are going to be able to get feedback on assignments and feedback on teaching techniques as well.
Mm, I'm excited for that. Yeah.
Absolutely. In speech 101, when you learn, to try to practice your speech in front of a mirror, practice your speech in front of some friends first. I think we're going to more and more rely on virtual reality to give us some feedback about those kinds of things.
Well, thank you, Dr. Roberts. This concludes our session. Thank you all for attending. You're going to return to the main event page in your internet browser and select your next breakout session. Have a wonderful
Thank
afternoon,
you.
everybody.